Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you here joining us virtually, Mr. Cyril Saltibus. I know you always take time out of your busy schedule just to be with the community. This is what it's all about. Thank you once again. Good morning to you. For persons actually hearing this voice for the very first time, could you just give us a short bio as to who you are?
Oh, no, I really can't do that. That's going to take like 2 weeks. I can't do that.
In short,
But yes, I'm son of Matthew Saltibus, who used to work with Lucian for a long time. He's right there. I'm still living behind the power station there. Yeah, I grew up in Soufriere as a boy, moved to Vieux-Fort, and then known as mayor of Vieux-Fort for a while, then ADC to two governors general of Saint Lucia, which is something I'm proud about. Um, and in the last few years, I figure I want to move back to Soufriere to be closer to my dad. So that's what brought me back to Soufriere, not just back to my dad, but back to Soufriere where I was born. So, and I think I've got a lot to contribute when it comes to environmental protection. My years of National Trust would prove that. And I'm a community person, so I suppose the nice warm arms of SRDF welcome me to fit this position in Soufriere.
thank you so much for that. And most importantly, as well, let's share why you're here, the vision behind this year's Emancipation Month activities.
All right. Well, Mr. You all know how passionate Mr. OJ is about celebrating things culture and celebrating Soufriere. So we did not want Emancipation Month to go by without us in Soufriere celebrating emancipation. So we put on 3 activities, 2 lectures and 1 panel discussion. One to discuss reparations, which is this Saturday. The other to have a panel discussion on the effects of slavery on the Saint Lucian landscape. And the final one delivered by Mr. Earl Huntley on emancipation itself. And it's a timely subject because reparations is right now up in the air. It's a worldwide discussion whether England and the people who enslaved our ancestors need to pay back and and to show the respect that something was done wrong to the African people. And so I cannot talk a lot about it, and that's why we have Mr. Earl Busquet, who is actually the president of St. Lucia's National Reparations Committee, to tell us in Soufriere a little more about it, to tell us what to expect. Because there's a lot of people that have expectations about reparations and think that it's going to be, let's say, a check in the mail, or we're going to get so that needs to be explained. What is it? What is it all about? What is reparations all about? How it is going to unfold when the England and all those other big countries decide to do something about it. So this is why we have this series of lectures to discuss that. And I'm hoping that every young person, because it is something, history is a dying subject. And we need to, Bob Marley will tell you, and all the other historians tell you can't really move forward if you don't know history. And so I'm encouraging a lot of young people, the clubs, everybody, just come and listen to this lecture so you can really know what reparations is all about. It's an open discussion. You can ask questions, and it will be a really fruitful day on Saturday. So I'm hoping that everybody turns up and make this a wonderful discussion point to discuss reparations.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm curious to ask you, why do you believe the subject of reparations is relevant, to our Saint Lucian people, especially today as well?
Well, it's not
I
just
mean, it's
in
lost some
Lucia.
sort of focus.
Yeah, it's not just in Lucia. People worldwide, especially Black people, would like to move on with our lives, and we're trapped. We're trapped in this thing of we were enslaved. Land was taken from us, and we want to move on and figure, what, it has been dealt with. And I mean, it's just like when somebody's been charged or accused of something and you have no answers. We want, and the answer must be for that lecture, reparations, is what are you doing for the people that you have hurt so long? I mean, how do you repair or compensate the harm that was caused by the injustices, okay, the historical injustices of slavery and colonization. This is what it's all about. And people believe that we can just move on. No, you cannot move on. This thing has economical effect on your landscape. When you look at Soufriere, let's look at if we want to develop Soufriere. The land in Soufriere and in Saint Lucia, a lot of it is still trapped in the slave owners' names and their children, and land cannot be developed because it is tied into the name of the children of the slave masters, and they still own all our land. So all those little things we need to discuss, and that's where the topic of reparations comes in play. Do we get all our land back that was taken and is still under the name of your children? Do we get compensated in cash? Do we now say you need to give us more scholarships in the Caribbean? You have to do more for economic development. After slavery, what happened? England just packed up and left. Did they continue building roads and building schools and building infrastructure to make us know that, okay, we really hurt you, so we're paying you back? That has never happened. Okay? There's a lot of reparations to a lot. I don't know if people know that after slavery, a lot of the slave owners were actually compensated. They were compensated for letting our ancestors go. So those things you really cannot say it's okay. If you compensated the slave owners, then you need to compensate the slaves even more and their ancestors. So I'm hoping that the discussion can be an open one, can be one where we debate and record it also, because I would like to know that it is live enough to the rest of Saint Lucia can hear that discussion, so it can propel it further beyond our shores, so our Caribbean counterparts can know what we're doing and what we say in the Caribbean. Because the minute we stop talking about reparations, the minute England and every other slave owner moves on and say, you know what, we've dealt with them. So yeah, we need to speak about it. We need to be compensated. The discussion must circle around how, what for, and how do we benefit.
Thank you so much for that as well. And also given, the mandate of really empowering and especially young persons. So what role do you really think our youthful population would have in the reparations movement?
It is not what role they will have in the reparations movement. It is what will happen to them if we don't educate them about what happened to their own ancestors. Slavery will continue. Slavery is continuing right now. Derek Walcott will tell you, I don't want to repeat it word by word the way he said it, because sometimes it offends people. But, the way we treat some of our employers, our low-end employers, it is still a run-up from slavery. So we do not want our young people to continue that trend. So it's not what their contribution will be. It's whether we can convince them that it's important enough to continue that message until Europe does something about it, until the slave owners and the people who perpetuated it do something about it. To date, we've not gotten an apology, far less reparations. So yes, the young people must be educated. It must be entwined in their veins that, your ancestors were slaved, they were whipped, they were tied, they were burnt, to the ass. And you cannot just move on from that. Or else it genetically, it will affect you moving forward. So we want the young people to listen so they can continue the message that you took us from our home, you displaced us, and we need to be compensated, because compensation was given, but it was not given to slaves. It was given to slave owners for the loss of slaves, which is bad. So I want the young people to come out. I want them to understand that history is important. And it's not that, as a young person, can you imagine growing up as a young man or woman, you have kids, and your kids tell you, well, Daddy, what is that building over there was? And you say, oh, I don't know, it's just a house. No, it was a slave owner's house. It was the old mill where they used to burn some of our black people when they behaved bad. And funny enough, some people may not like to hear it, but there was a certain role that organizations played in slavery. And I've heard the Pope apologize. and one of these things for the involvement of the Catholic Church in slavery. But we need to learn more about it so we can move on in life. So it's very important that the young people attend. It's very important that they play their part in actually taking the message further to their kids and in their schools. I would like to know that after this reparations lecture, that the teachers at the secondary schools in Soufriere can really have an open discussion and say, hey, how many of y'all listen to this program? And let's discuss it. Let's discuss it further. Let us try and see whether we can actually know from Soufriere who are our ancestors who participated, not participated, who were enslaved. In Viewport, I was proud to be on that stage, and I think SRDF did a very good job in getting young people, and older ones like myself, to mention the names of the enslaved. Because in the archives in Saint Lucia and in Martinique more so, you can get names of the enslaved. You get the slave owners and the list of the names of their slaves. And I was proud to be on that stage on Emancipation Day in Saint Lucia in Viewport to say the names of some of the enslaved. It is important that we do not forget, that sometimes we are who we are because we were enslaved, and we need to change that psyche. We need to move on, but we need to be compensated. We need better relief from Europe so we can move on and say, you know what, we've dealt with
it. Thank you. In your humble opinion, why do you believe Soufriere Primary School was selected to facilitate such?
Your last question broke up a little bit. Can you repeat?
In your opinion, why do you believe Soufriere Primary was selected to host those various lectures?
I know nothing to do. Soufriere Primary School is it's a very nice venue. Really, we don't really have an open auditorium in Saint Lucia. I must admit that the district rep is moving full swing ahead with the building of the admin center for Soufriere, which will house a community center. But in the absence of a community center, the Soufriere Primary School was the more central location, more comfort location with an air-conditioned space where people can sit down and relax. So there's no really big reason why. I must say it's maybe because we don't have another, but we're working on that. Yeah.
Okay, I would say maybe because it's timely. It's an educational institute, and with those various lectures, it's knowledge imparting as well. So that was timely, and you want to actually have more young people involved to really come out and be exposed to the discussion. So I think it was an ideal location.
You actually hit it right on the head there, and that answer is so well put. And when you do things like that in an education institution, then it really lends to the message. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that the people are listening to us. I'm hoping that they can attend. We're gonna have a little tongue choir go out and make sure we encourage people to come in, listen. All I can say, it's important that you know your history. It's important that you know why the struggle is still on. It is important for you to know that Bob Marley was almost sent to jail for speaking the truth, about his ancestors and what happened to them, and the freedom, the right to speak out. Okay, Nelson Mandela, what happened? Why was he put in jail for just speaking the truth and speaking out? It's important for us to know our history. And I normally tell young people when they complain, I was speaking to some young people the other day, and they said, boy, why don't you all just free up this and do that, and why are you still complain? I used to tell them that most of us could not even be here today if not for the struggle of people like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. So I'm encouraging the young people to birth new mentors, amongst them, because it cannot just die off with Nelson Mandela, with Kennedy Booth Samuel, with Nelson, with Kendall Hippolyte, with Earl Humphrey. The storytelling cannot die with this generation. The generation coming must continue the message of what went wrong with the system. Why were we displaced? Why were we enslaved? Why do you think a white man feels it's equally important to just beat another human being because he's of a different color, or you believe that he's not human. I mean, we were treated like animals. I want we have to understand that. Sometimes that is why some of us behave in a certain way, because we are still genetically, we still believe that every time we see somebody of a different color, we must speak differently to them because they're superior to us. No, they're not. So we need to educate children about it. And my message, before we leave, is to encourage every young person in Saint Lucia to fill that auditorium at the Soufriere Primary School, to listen to Mr. Earl Bousquet about the story, about the message, about the intentions, and about the rights to complain and to agitate about reparation.
Thank you for that. And agreeing to disagreeing as well. So, yes, I am for the various lectures, but why wait for August to have an emancipation lecture? Why not throw out to really impact that knowledge among communities, among youth, so people would have a great appreciation for who they are? Hi.
I cannot answer that. I can just agree with you that it should be a discussion throughout the year. I mean, this should be on the curricula at
Yes.
every school. I mean, when I'm in secondary school, history was part of the school curricula. I mean, Caribbean history, and I can still, I don't know if you ever hear me say that, but Kendall Hippolyte, I was my history teacher, and when he walked into the class, I can just remember him walking in and say, "Hey, fellas, free up yourselves, make yourself comfortable," because he told us that don't sit on that chair and enslave yourself to, sit on the ground if you want. Let's go in the grass. He used to bring us in the valley and just sit down there while he lectured us. Be relaxed so that we can absorb this information and know who we are and where we came from. And Kendall Hippolyte was a great history teacher, and I'm hoping that the teaching of history continues. Some people fear it, but we cannot fear the truth. We cannot fear learning about who we are. So I agree with you. It should not just be about when we celebrate um, this this particular subject. It should be throughout the year. It should be lectures going out throughout the year so people can learn and understand. And yes, in the month of emancipation, we can do a bigger celebration. But I agree with you that it should continue throughout the year.
Definitely. We agree on that for sure. 25 minutes after the hour of 10 a.m. in Surface Solution, of course, the Eastern Caribbean. Kudos to you out there who have been listening. And of course, if you're just joining in as well, too, we want to say do not miss out on those lectures. 3-part series happening at the Soufriere Primary School. And the first commencing this Saturday. So avail yourself. Tell someone, bring the family out there, and this is an opportunity to refresh your minds as well and ask whatever questions, concern that you may have. With that, I strongly want to ask you if you could correct one misconception people have about emancipation or even reparations, where that has been a much debated subject as well. What would it be?
That's a question to me.
Yes, sir.
Boy, I don't know. The misconception is not. I don't want to say it's a misconception, but I've heard people say, "Man, let's just move on. This thing happened already." No, we can't move on, and I want to correct that in the minds of some. We cannot just move on because it is still affecting us today. Okay, some of us are still not being paid the right salaries because we are black in the world. Okay, you walk into a bank, and because of what happened to us, a security officer will open the door for a white person and say, "Hello, sir, how are you doing? Good morning." And when the black person walks through the door, they say, "What do you want?" We need to stop that. So that misconception that we're different is wrong. We're all human beings in the eyes of God. We're all human beings in the eyes of nature. And the misconception is being played out right now, where people thought that, let's say, everything that was invented by a white man. And even the pharaohs, we're now learning that a lot of them were black and not white as they were painted white. Okay? There's even a bigger debate about Jesus Christ himself, which is a big topic. Okay, and I'm not no expert on it. I'm not going to say he's black or white, but there was no proof that he's white, right? And that misconception that he's white and everything around him was white, and the black man is just, I heard it, and to wrap it up for you is, I heard somebody, display it very nicely. He said he's beginning to wonder why all the things that are bad were given the name black, blackmail, black this. And everything that's good was given the white this, the white that. Even he said the White House. All those things that are bad are associated with things with even the name black in it. Yeah, those are misconceptions we need to correct. And if it was done deliberately, we have to change it. But on reparations, a misconception that I would like to throw out there to a lot of people is, a lot of people just believe it's about money and it's about we collecting cash. And boy, everybody on the street going to get cash. No, it's not about that. It's about an apology. It's about funding education. It's about funding infrastructure. It's about giving back what you ripped off from us. The land was raped, just like the people were raped, to produce sugar. And we need that back. We need you to invest in the Caribbean, invest in the slavery territory, and give the people back what you took from them. It can be in the form of scholarships, infrastructure, and everything. But those are the misconceptions. It's not about, a lot of people believe that, boy, we're going to get a check in our hand and everybody can do what they want. No, it's not about that. It's about give respect. It's about an apology. Those are what it's about.
Thank you. Even maybe extracting a little from the discussion you just shared here. Yes, I believe we have been dealt with an unfortunate deck of cards for sure, where we continue to be stigmatized as well as Black people, and even racism as well. We see that inevitably, and even at workplaces. It doesn't really have to be white supremacy or Black. Even among us, like Black people would rather stand for division than want to unite and help a brother or sister. So I wouldn't really sit here confidently and say it's all about, the whites and the Blacks and so, where we definitely, as Black persons, would quicker want to cut each other's throats as well.
You should be the one. You should be the one giving that lecture on Saturday. I can tell you, because you're making a very important point. We need to move on, but moving on means being united, creating a united front, joining forces, joining resources. Let's build schools and educate our people. Let's not depend. Let's not be becoming. Because we say we're independent state, we're still very dependent on everybody else. But if we just come together, and I must say you are right about this. Even in America, people are saying that there are so many rich Black people who keep preaching about slavery. Only a few of them are giving back. Only a few of them are building communities where Black people can profit and make a difference. And I must admit there are a lot of them doing it. But if more of us just come together, then we can create, this bigger trust going forward to educate and get our Black brothers and sisters off the streets and doing something positive. Right here in Saint Lucia, yes. How many hotels are really built and managed by us Black rich people coming together and saying, what, let us manage this? No, we have to start doing that in the future. We have to start doing that. Praise God, we have the Destans and Castries who have their own property and doing very well with big gardens. But more of us Black, or rather local people, need to come together and get that done. And you are right, it's not about Black and white. I must apologize for that if I said that. It is about us doing what we have to do to better our lives. But the reparations part, with no excuse, it was not Black people who enslaved us. It was white people who enslaved us. And we cannot forget that. I cannot apologize for saying that at all. Okay? So, but not every white man believes in slavery. Not every white person or white family, I mean, the story of the community of Saltibus can be told maybe by Dr. Lender when he has the time. It's a story of the wife of the slave master loving her slaves that much that she run She escaped with them one evening and went into the area they now call Saltibus. So there is love also from those from a certain society of the white community, and it's not all of them, but you're correct. We black people need to get together. But finally, from me, I just want to encourage every young person from Soufriere, young and old, brothers, girls, and boys, come to the primary school on Saturday and listen to this lecture. It's important for you and all.
Not just Saturday, but there are two-part upcoming lectures as well. So please give them a reminder of the days that it's unfolding.
I hope you're in a better position to remind them for me. But let me see. I think we have
Panel discussion.
Saturday, Earl Busquet. We have our panel discussion with our moderator being Dr. Paul Slendor. We have two panelists. And that's happening on Tuesday, 25th. And then on Thursday, I think Thursday 27th, we have our final lecture done by Mr. Earl Huntley on the topic of, remind me again, my brain is all over the place looking at my paperwork in front of me. As we celebrate emancipation. So Earl Huntley is really going to discuss emancipation itself. And we encourage everybody to show up and have a good time as we speak to each other about who we were, what happened to our ancestors, and where do we go from here.
Thank you. And of course, we're hoping to fill the Soufriere Primary School, and not just capacity-wise, but fill in terms of when we live there, we would have been more knowledgeable and would have applied certain things that actually was delivered to us, even in the workplaces as well, as little as can be, to actually see, something different, some sort of, I wouldn't say miracle, but education for sure is very impactful, because a lot of the times people act out of not knowing. We do not want to use the terminology to say ignorance, but the act of not knowing. So we encourage each and every one of you guys to participate in those lectures, show up in large volumes if you are able to do so. Mr. Cyril Saltibus, the administrative manager of the SRDF, is actually making that appeal for persons to actually come over to the Soufriere Primary School. With that being said, Mr. Saltibus, I just want to make an apology for that little hiccup we just had. This is what happens with technology, definitely, for sure. Sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances, but nonetheless, we're continuing with the program as we near the discussion as well. What do you want every person listening to this program at this very moment to take away from the Emancipation Month program? What do you want to sink in today?
Simple, that we will be a better community if we know our past, and that's what emancipation, reparation is all about. We will be able to understand why we were dragged into the situation for so long. We need to be able to understand what we need to do to become a better, to really become a more vibrant race, because we are, and we are the inventors, we are the developers. The story is just not being told, and that's why we want to use those series of lectures to tell a story of who we really are, what happened to us, and what we need to, and what the European countries need to do to make it, and to make it better. So that's my takeaway. But more importantly, my takeaway is to make sure that Soufriere can show up on Saturday, Tuesday, and Thursday to make this series of lectures meaningful, impactful, and life-changing.
Thank you. At this moment, we owe gratitude to the SRDF as well, and to you especially for gracing us here with such impactful information and discussion as well. Just to tie in a little, just share with us before we end in terms of the SRDF, and we recently saw, the commencement of the book bursary, the collection as well too. And this is one of the remarkable things that we're doing. Besides informing, educating, and uplifting, we're also assisting in the means of financial aid with the academic year.
Well, boy, what can I say about this? That I just hope that parents and students can really understand what it means to get involved in the work that SRDF is doing. We're giving a lot back to our community. Just yesterday, the officer in charge of that program was telling me, Mr. Saltibus, we're doing so much, giving out so much. What we would really like to see is a return on that investment in the form of the kids speaking about those efforts, volunteering in the community, giving back. Because if you give, you need to return something to your community. And I'm hoping that for all that SRDF is doing for those students, those going to universities, secondary schools, learn to give back to your community. You don't really have to give back to SRDF, but when we have programs like cleanups, when you have programs like beautification of Soufriere, we want everybody whose lives we've touched to somehow give back to our community. Um, that said, I cannot leave without saying thanks to our executive chairman, Mr. OJ. I mean, Mr. OJ has placed this in the forefront of his thinking, of his mannerism, everything. I mean, he pledges everything to that. And I remember him telling us a story that when he joined SRDF, the contribution to education was at that level. Today, it's at a bigger level and it will keep growing. So I just want us to be very appreciative. And when I say us, I mean the community. I mean, just yesterday, I heard a lot of the parents, complain about the long lines. And I went to them and I told them, let's just be a little patient. We have some interns getting everything ready. And they were happy to hear that. And I told them, when you come in, be patient with us. We are putting your parcels together just because we do not want you to get the wrong set of books. We don't want you to come back complaining. And they appreciated that. They were more relaxed. But we are doing a lot. We're going to continue doing a lot for the community. That this is our mandate to help the community. And I must say it is just something that both staff and the interns enjoy doing. We enjoy putting smiles on the faces of both parents and students to know that education is the key to success in life. And SRDF puts this at the front burner of all that it's doing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cyril Saltibus. And it's hand in glove. Scholarship bursary uplifts education, same as the emancipation lectures as well, adding to what you already know and even broadening the horizon for you in terms of reparations, emancipation. So all I could say is I'm encouraging each and every one of you community members, not only Soufriere but environs as well, wherever you can hear the advertisements for those various lectures, avail yourself at least one day if you're able to do so. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your final commendation, sir.
Ooh la la, final. Let me thank you for granting me the time to be on the show, and for all that you do in our community. Keep up the good work. As I tell you, I would like to see some more interactive shows going along with I think people in Soufriere need to know what goes on at our different sites, and I would like to open that up. But my final appeal, ladies and gentlemen, it's Emancipation Month. We are discussing reparations, we're discussing slavery, the impacts of slavery, and we're discussing emancipation itself. So I want to urge you to be there on Saturday at 5:30. Be there on Tuesday. Be there on Thursday, and be part of your past, your future, your history. Thanks a lot.
Excitedly, you didn't tell them refreshments will be served.
Well, sometimes I hate to say that, but you know,
Well,
yes,
that gets people out there.
yes. We'll do a few refreshments afterwards. So come on and make it a date.
Thank you so much. At this time, I want to say thank you to persons who actually make the presence felt. Mr. Branson Stackert Solage, Mr. Sheldon Lionel, 8694. Thank you immensely. We do appreciate you. And once again, to our administrative manager, Mr. Cyril Saltibus, thank you as well from the bottom of our hearts. We will continue to dialogue, of course, to hear the outcome of those various lectures. So, all goes well, God's willing, you will be back here to present what you've learned yourself and where I can maybe challenge you a bit too in terms of relearning, because sometimes we have to unlearn certain things and relearn and do things differently. So, on that note, I want to say thank you from the bottoms of my heart. Thank you. Thank you. Do have yourself a wonderful and a productive day.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. Right.